Siege mode is kind of bad in total honesty. Alright, so we have a post here that is pretty critical of Siege mode, and I think, we have to get it out of the way. What exactly can Siege mode do to improve? How can we improve Siege mode? And I know, obviously, that we have been having a lot of fun with it. At least I hope you have been having a lot of fun with it, but we have been running into some connection issues. So ultimately, Siege mode can definitely improve in the performance area. I have been getting pretty much like connection spikes. It's weird. Like the red bars will pop up for a bit. They will pause me for like a second, and then I can start playing again. So I do think that's better that is better than just disconnecting. And I think it really depends. Like every other day, it seems like connections are getting a little bit better, but sometimes there are days where it feels like they're getting worse. So I think ultimately when it comes to Siege mode, obviously we want connections to get better. But as I said earlier, this is a post that is more critical even to that extent. So as far as Siege mode criticism, we're just going to go directly into an incredibly critical post of Siege mode that I'm already going to say I disagree with the title, obviously. But yeah, dude, Siege mode has been one of the only games I've been committing to recently. It's just been the only games that I've been like able to spend hours in. I know Siege mode takes a commitment, but like I kind of want something like that because that it really does feel like you are a part of a huge, basically a continuous war, I guess, or a continuous battle. And we are taking out wave after wave after wave. It's an incredibly heightened version of the mob system we have in operations, and I think that is pretty much where the scale of the game should be. It should feel like after fighting you feel pretty exhausted, you know what I mean? Well, in the highest ways, and not to mention, of course, Siege mode kind of adjusts to everybody. If you only want to do 10 waves, you only want to do 10 waves. That's fine. I do think it would be cool if we were able to like let people like in on like how far we're gonna go, but sometimes it really depends on how everyone performs with each other. Sometimes I'll jump in with a group. It's like, oh, I'm down for like 25 waves, and then it's like around wave 10, I'm like, I might try to switch a class or something. But yeah, it depends. But yeah, okay. This is a highly critical post of Siege mode, and we are going to see why this guy thinks it's bad. Look, I enjoy the mode too, but it's riddled with so many bugs and issues, it ruins the game mode as a whole for me. Let me list off some of the bugs I've gotten pictures above, being the soft lock that you have to leave the game to fix. Okay. I do have a bug I would like to talk about also with this. But recently for me, I didn't leave a game to fix it. What I did do was turn off the connection, the PS5 to obviously the Wi-Fi. I just went disconnect from the internet in the settings of PS5, and it sent me to the battle barge. It was wave 20, and I got the wave 20 rewards. If I would have went to return to the battle barge from the menu, I would have lost the rewards. So because I lost connection to the internet, it sent me to the battle barge with rewards. That is honestly kind of crazy. So yes, I definitely agree with the sentiment as far as bugs and issues for performance. 100% should be the priority for fixing Siege mode. And it is unfortunate that it is in this state. And I do think maybe the one thing I feel like that is not playing within its favor is the fact that the devs did the whole, oh, we fixed the timer situation. And then it's like, is the timer, is the fact that we uncapped the timer, or at the very, I'm not too sure what the devs did. Did the devs just take off the timer and just made everything a one shot? Because if that's the case, then I can kind of understand why we're getting a lot of enemies spawned in the background and stuff like that. Yeah, but still, we will see. We will see what the devs decide to do when it comes to performance. Major inconveniences. These break the game. Tyrannid warrior behind walls, standing still, and you can't kill it. Okay, so of course, we've seen this one. For me, this has been fixed. It happens, but if you just sit there, it'll eventually just, start. The wave will just continue. They will forget about that enemy. But Tyrannid warriors. So, yeah, I've been in this situation, but see, here's the thing. Sometimes that just doesn't happen, where the game can legitimately just break because of that, because maybe you also hit like a connection issue or something. I have to leave the game to fix. Okay, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure this one has been solved. It's like you kind of just sit there and wait for it. Zoanthrope under the floor, have to leave the game. We did an under the floor bug video where you can get a dreadnought to spawn in or some guardsmen, something like that, right? Not 100% sure if this will fix that one. But okay, I've never seen an extremist not spawn in. To be honest, I've never seen like an extremist spawn outside. So that's unfortunate. Maybe not related, but server issues got disconnected on wave 24. Yeah, that's the one. That's a legitimate. That's very legitimate. This is so far the one criticism of siege mode that's really holding it back. Elevator control, being under the elevator, and you cannot get to it. Have to leave the game. Okay, so yes, this is the one I was kind of talking about earlier. I got to the elevator, and my teammates disconnected, and I wasn't able to use the elevator for whatever reason. And then what I did was I went into the settings, and then I disconnected the internet, and then went back into the game. I was at the battle barge. I said continue offline. And then what happened was I had the rewards from wave 20. So I have to admit, that's a pretty shot in the dark solution, and I got lucky there. I shouldn't have to get lucky to, play the game. Minor inconveniences. These are still kind of bad though. Floating yellow squares replacing effects. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think that's not really a siege mode related thing. I see sometimes that just happens. Not too sure what's going on. Dude, this game is, you know what's crazy? On the Steam review, not the Steam reviews, on the Steam page, the requirements for this game is like 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's just not true. That's crazy, right? It's definitely, could you imagine playing this game on like 8 gigs worth of RAM? I think the game does something where it like holds up a bunch of RAM for like textures and stuff, or like something like that, like the texture pack. I don't know. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you know more about that one. Invisible Ravener? Okay, never seen that, but okay, I'll give you some. I'll meet you in the middle on this one. This is definitely one that if that happened to me, I'd be pretty upset about that. But this has not happened to me. This could be a, obviously a connection issue type of thing. Maybe it's a system type of thing. I don't know. This is obviously very rare. I haven't seen any clips of this, but still sounds very horrifying. No sound cue for Lictor or Ravener. I don't know. Sometimes it's just hard to see that one, to be honest, with everything that's going on. I've just been relying on visual cues nowadays when it comes to like siege mode and like high waves. Man, the Raveners and the grabs and everything can definitely be a pain. I agree with that one. But like that's, obviously what he's saying about the sound cues. I've been hearing the sound cues. It's just, it doesn't matter. It really depends. FPS drops. Okay, so the only times I get FPS drops is during, obviously getting disconnected, stuff like that. Ravener animation idling and just being, okay, this one I've seen forever. This is the one bug. Dude, okay, this guy definitely plays a lot of siege mode. I feel like seeing the T-posing Ravener is one of those things where it's like, man, I'm about to disconnect, right? It's like I'm about to disconnect, something's going on. No, okay, dude, yeah, this is where I pretty much have to concede with the performance of siege mode, man. The performance of siege mode is just absolutely holding it back. Like this, okay, the T-pose Ravener ain't that big of a deal, but considering how often I kind of see that one, it's just, it does like, it pops up and then like goes away. But like whenever it pops up, it is so off-putting. It's so weird. But yeah, every time when it pops up, I think I'm going to disconnect or something. And I normally it does normally like do some sort of ping thing where you get the red bars and it like lags for a bit. And it's horrifying in siege mode because you can just get sniped and then it's over. And it's like, dude, we're trying to enjoy the game. Please let us enjoy the game. Dreadnought being incredibly stupid. Okay, see, some of these are good and some of these are bad. That's always how it is with the lists. I'm gonna be honest, guys, the game mode feels like it was rushed out. Should have been delayed by a month or so. This is my experience with it. Share your opinion in the comments if you'd like, just some critical feedback. Okay, I do think, obviously, criticism for siege mode, 100% warranted. There are some of these things that are just absolutely unacceptable if they were to stay in the game for a long time. But yeah, overall, when it comes to delaying it, I'm not too concerned with that because we're still getting siege mode is still going to be updated and fixed. Right now we're what, 8.1, and they did maintenance recently, which makes me believe they're going to do 8.2 soon. So hopefully we see some good changes from that. I do think we're outside of the time frame where, like, if you remember patch 7 connection issues, I do think that maybe took what, like a week at the top, I think. But yeah, we're obviously weeks after siege mode release, and yeah, some of these things are unacceptable. 100%. Like losing waves is the worst thing, and I've lost so many waves. Okay, I will say so many. Like, I've lost way more waves due to disconnections than operations. Like, that's pretty much how I'm gonna measure it. And yeah, it's like that's pretty unacceptable for the moment. It is obviously going to be fixed on, but I was kind of disappointed with the recent maintenance and hot fixes. That's why I've talked about performance recently. But yeah, when it comes to siege mode, 100% performance is holding it back. It's kind of funny though. There wasn't too many points that he made about like the actual game mode itself. Besides, I guess the cues maybe kind of messing them up a little bit. Like cues, a lot of the orange and blue sound cues maybe aren't working, but maybe it's just overlapping with all the other craziness on screen. There are some things to criticize siege mode in the game version, but like to be honest, with the game itself, I'm having a great time. I really don't see that many. I don't see criticisms as horrifying as some of this connection issue and performance stuff. I see the performance stuff 100% being the priority. Like, you 100% need to fix this. But like as far as like the game itself and balancing, I feel like we can wait like a patch for that. But I would like to see something significantly change with the connection and the performance of siege mode. Not to mention, it's still a couple weeks from the monthly community dev update. That's going to be a very important dev update, I think. But yeah, okay, let's go in the comments to see if anyone has anything else to add on to this. But honestly, some of the stuff I kind of expected, but I thought it was going to be a little bit harsher, to be completely real. This guy made it sound like he didn't like the game mode, but then he was like, I enjoy the mode, actually. So then it's not bad. It's just performing bad. Well, to me, siege mode does feel a bit lazy, as in it's basically wave mechanism from Ops on steroids. I was expecting something a bit less mindless. Dude, it's siege horde mode. I was not jumping into this thinking that I was going to be thinking like it's a JRPG or something. It delivered of what I was expecting. Yeah, this is more the type of review I was looking at. With, for examples, more checkpoints. Oh, more choke points with Cadian weapon teams protecting them. With, for example, more choke points with Cadian weapon teams protecting them, actual wall-mounted defenses like turrets that take a heavy toll on the enemy force. Dude, no, see, here's the thing. I don't like even when the guardsmen steal my kills, because I want to do it. I don't want the guardsmen to just sit there and, like, take something down. I do want them to take some aggro away, but I don't want them to take anything out from me. The Dreadnought's pretty satisfying as far as, like, weaponry, like artillery that we could call in. I'm satisfied with the Dreadnought and the Space Marines. I'd rather see what we have, pretty much. Could have had interesting decision making. What? Like, protect the defense asset would ease enemy pressure, but you have to spend your own resource doing so? Man, no. This sounds... I think their heart is in the right spot, I guess. Like, they're trying to improve, They're trying to improve something. I just think it's a little bit over the top. I just don't think we really needed anything to... The decision-making is what you spend with your resources. That is... like, you don't want to admit it, but that is pretty much what you're describing. With better design map, you could also have a multiple layered base, which could have put emphasis on enemy surroundings and having to fall back. The maps, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. The maps are pretty... I will say the maps are the... what is it? Like, pretty much they're good, but it just got there. You know what I mean? It just got to the point where I think they're fine. If there's not a point in the map where, outside of, like, getting cornered, where I feel like I'm, like, stuck, so that feels fine. As long as you get away from corners, and just roll around, hallways and stuff like that. And I mean, like, getting cornered where it's like enemies coming from your right and left. You just have to focus on not getting surrounded. But yeah, the map is pretty much just as good as it needed to be, I guess. As it is, it's just messy brawl to me. I mean, yeah, it's a siege mode. I wasn't really thinking of anything. A messy brawl is a good way to describe it, but I think that's exactly what the game needed. But yeah, it's an increasingly terrible, it's this increasingly messier and horrifying brawl. There we go. But hey, people on the sub seem to love it, so each to its own. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, everyone wanted something different from siege mode, which is fine, but I think ultimately it definitely delivered on what I needed, as far as like an increasing difficulty that's Also, you can just bring in normal siege mode is incredibly balanced for like off meta stuff. Pushing wave 25 can be a little bit difficult with off meta, but it's also doable, like way more doable than jumping into absolute 2.0 off meta, I think. But okay, maybe not. Honestly, it really depends on what you consider meta and like off meta. But like you can do wave 25 with a tactical without secure stockpile. You can definitely find a build to pull that off with. I think obviously in Absolute 2.0, I also, used, the extra range damage in Absolute 2.0. But like secure stockpile for most people is probably going to be the go-to for Absolute 2.0. You will see more meta in Absolute 2.0 than normal Siege. That's pretty much how I see it. But yeah, regardless, of course, everyone kind of wanted something different from Siege mode. But I still think it delivered on what we wanted as far as an increasing difficulty for mobs to just keep pouring in. like the game as far as fighting enemies is really fun. So the fact that we can just continuously do that in a mode without like going through too many loading screens is really where it delivers the itch. I think it's just fun to just keep pushing. But yeah, still normal siege mode, I think a little bit more. It's a stronger experience in normal siege mode. I think in hard siege mode, it's where, you kind of have to play some really good stuff. You can't experiment in hard siege mode, which maybe can be a bummer for people. I can see that, be a criticism. My issue with it is the replayability. That's definitely, I don't have an issue with replayability for siege mode at all. I'm having a really good time with it. But yeah, obviously what I'm mentioning before, I do experiment quite a bit. Due to the variable of teammates and / points, among other things, you can pretty much guess when your session is going to be done. I mean, sure, but I think that's a benefit, I guess. The fact that we have checkpoints like wave 10, wave 5, wave 15, wave 20. Like, I mean, I did a wave 20 that felt very satisfying recently. And I mean, yeah, it was a rough one. Hopefully I can put out the video soon on that, but that was, oh my gosh. Yeah, I had a teammate who was perpetually downed. They couldn't get up. It was not great. So like as I was having fun, I was also frustrated dealing with a bug, So in a way, it almost feels pointless and the time to reward ratio is completely off. I'm feeling pretty rewarded. I feel like there's probably a good point for normal siege mode experience. Normal siege mode experience is terrible. So maybe there's that, but I'm not really doing siege mode for experience really. But the fact that it gives us any experiences feels fine because, sometimes I'm jumping in with, classes I'm leveling and it's not like, it's just a mix up. So it just feels good. Then comparing it to operations, at least in my opinion, the operations have a reward. You beat the boss, you beat the level, you did the objective. There's a reward when siege doesn't to an extent. The experiences are different. Like you get triple hell brute in siege mode. You don't get that in operations. I mean, now you get like an extra terminus, which is cool. I do think operations definitely stand out a little bit more now that it has something that's not exactly like it. You actually do jump into operations just for some atmosphere. I agree with that one 100%. Like the Hive Tyrant fight, the Trigon Prime fight, I do think are a little bit more fun than triple hell brute. But like the fact that triple hell brute comes with all this other stuff is kind of what makes that appealing. But it's like, I feel like it's different types of foods in the sense. It's like Trigon Prime, Hive Tyrant, like, very delicate and good food. And then, triple hell brute is just like a monstrosity of giant good burger. You know what I mean? Something like that. But that's pretty much how I look at it from a combat perspective. You know what I mean? Whereas in operations, yeah, you get more atmosphere. I agree with that. I do enjoy Siege, but now that I'm running true solos or standard operations again, I realize how much I enjoy operations. I enjoy Absolute 2.0. The other operations are still fun also with leveling and stuff, but I'd still rather just jump into level in Siege mode just because it's kind of new and the combat I think is a little bit more satisfying. But yeah, even if you're like an underleveled assault class, you're still getting like huge slams, a lot of huge slams in siege mode, and then in operations it's a little bit more concise. I mean, you will get some huge slams in Ruthless, but you won't see anything in Ruthless that's comparable to Wave 15 normal siege mode. I think Siege needs just more variables while playing, more intense objectives or something. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to them adding like a bonus wave that's like a Hive Tyrant or Trigon Prime. I think that's really all it needs. That'd be great. But right now, I think it's as far as like a gameplay perspective, I think it's like a clean like 8 out of 10. But yeah, I do think there's some improvements. Like if you really wanted me to like meet the criticism in the middle with my rating, it would be like a 7.5. But like I would consider it a 7.5 even with the connection issues right now, which I guess would still, like, some people would probably have an issue with that. But still, I'm having a lot of fun. It's just the connection issues really deflate it. So like ultimately with improvements with connections, and like let's say they add in like bonus waves or something, I can see it being like a 9 out of 10, something very, very enjoyable to repeat. But like replayability is not an issue for me right now because I'm, trying a lot of weird stuff sometimes. But yeah, like recently I did blocking Thunderhammer, like melee heavy. It's just a lot of stuff I'm jumping into siege mode with, trying out. Like shock bulwark with the hammer is very fun. Ordeals would have even added an element to it. That's a good point about ordeals. No ordeals in siege mode is kind of, is kind of a bummer. I'm just not 100% sure if ordeals, it's not a make or break to me, basically, but I think it would be an improvement. If they added ordeals and a bonus wave, 9 out of 10, a bonus wave of like a Trigon Prime Hive Tyrant fight, that'd be cool. Like, you don't even need any other mobs with that. Just a bonus wave, a buffed health, Trigon Prime, Absolute 2.0, Hive Tyrant, something like that, that'd be very fun. TLDR, Siege is okay, it's not bad. It's not as good as it could be. I do enjoy it, but I think the Siege has shown how good the operations really are. Oh gosh. Oh man, all right. I mean, man, people are gonna, I don't want like the criticism of the siege mode to go overboard. People are gonna be like, man, you know what, I actually like the chaos missions. Okay, no, seriously, I think siege mode is fun. It's very fun. Definitely wanted to make sure I added some of that. And yeah, it's definitely worth criticizing for 100%, just so the fact that we can first hear the devs talk about the performance issues with siege mode and how they plan on fixing that, and if they plan on fixing that, that would be nice. I feel like it's definitely underwhelming that it was released in a not consistent state, but I feel like it not being consistent is probably the heaviest criticism. So if with performance patches, I don't really think like there's like ordeals wouldn't make or break it. I mean, adding the Trigon Prime or the Hive Tyrant for like an event would be very cool. But we would really need to hear more from the devs on what they plan to do with siege mode. Like it needs some updates. 100% definitely needs some updates. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. And thanks for watching.